we share stories, we're on this podcast, but if we knew within hours we were going to die, I mean, like we're going to get slain right now.
Yeah.
Where would you go for comfort?
You are listening to Saints in the South.
All right, welcome everyone. This is season 2, episode 98. We are Saints in the South, representing saints everywhere, and we are your source for gospel growth and good times. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And then, as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Saints in the South. And then you can check out our website, saintsinthesouth.com. So this week, we are in sections 135 to 136.
Right.
And the title of it is, He Has Sealed His Mission and His Work with His Own Blood.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a sad time in the days of the early saints. So it's all I would say that those that were involved in the martyrdom, the killing of Joseph Smith and Hyrum Smith, but especially Joseph Smith, that they are feeling victorious.
Yeah.
They are feeling like we have conquered this
evil man.
This evil man, this evil religion.
Right.
And now it's all going to come crashing down.
Right.
And that will be the last that we hear of those Mormons, right? And everything and stuff. So, but here we are, 200 years later or so, and still going strong.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take that. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, just to go off of that, I didn't think I'd read this quickly into it, but it goes along with it. President Joseph F. Smith, Joseph F. Smith also spoke of the necessity of the deaths of Prophet Joseph Smith and Brother Hyrum, and what we can learn from them. In other words, you're talking about how we're still going strong today. He says, what does the martyrdom of Joseph and Hyrum Smith teach us? He says, the great lesson that where a testament is, there must also be of necessity be the death of the testator, to make it of force. It says, the Lord permitted the sacrifice that the testimony of those virtuous and righteous men should stand as a witness against a perverse and unrighteous world. Then again, they were examples of the wonderful love of which the Redeemer speaks. Greater love hath no man in this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. This wonderful love they manifested to the saints and to the world, for both realized and expressed their conviction before starting on the journey to Carthage that they were going to their death. It says, this martyrdom has always been an inspiration to the people of the Lord. It has helped them in their individual trials, has given them courage to pursue a course in righteousness, and to know and to live the truth, and must ever be held in sacred memory by the Latter-day Saints who have learned the great truths that God revealed through his servant, Joseph Smith. So there's a force there, that is with us now, knowing, we talked a little bit about it before we started recording about, the History Museum in Salt Lake City and stuff, and seeing Hyrum Smith's clothes and, all these things that were there that was in that room, with these people. And it was really heavy on me. I was like, wow, this was a real thing. And so that force lies with us today, and it strengthens us. It's like, I can go forward with my little trials, or my little whatever it is. And so it's a force today because they did seal it with their own blood.
Right. So why did he go to Carthage? So, I mean, he obviously he was popular, but unliked,
There's several different,
but he got charged for destroying the Nauvoo expositor.
That was the
printing or whatever. That's what he got charged for.
So was the Nauvoo expositor it was a non kind of LDS newspaper?
Right. It was sort of an anti-Mormon type. It was actually only the only issue it ever ran. Right. It was that one issue. I'm pretty sure it was. It was started by
So Thomas Sharp from Warsaw,
right?
He that print and press. I mean, he was the leader.
Yeah,
he was the head honcho of trying to get rid of Joseph
right.
Smith. But I don't know if that was the first time Nauvoo expositor.
I think John C. Bennett was part of it too. There was a lot of former members.
Right.
Obviously, those were the ones that were the most.
So
evil,
Joe Smith,
honestly,
and Joe Smith commanded for it to be destroyed. So that's why he got charged.
Well, now he didn't just, one thing that a lot of people think is that Joseph Smith said, hey, y'all go take care of that and get rid of it. He actually did bring it before the Council of Nauvoo, through the proper chart. I mean, through a chart, all the things that were done properly. He did the law the way, and they voted and did agree as a group of council for the city of Nauvoo.
Basically, the city council.
The city council did agree that yes, it was slanderous and that it was only for the intent to bring death and destruction upon us, just like it had already done in Missouri
city after city,
and other. And so they thought, you know what? Let's nip this thing in the bud for lack of a better, they said, and that's what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard it from today. I've got family members that have said, well, the reason he was found himself in Carthage is because he violated the First Amendment anyway. And it's like,
but
there's an argument there, I guess.
Yeah, but slander and
slander.
What's the I'm trying to think of the legal term, like when you can file suit against somebody for lying, basically spreading lies.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's illegal.
Exactly. And so that's the point. That's the thing that's happening, at this point, is that all that's happening. Joseph Smith knows there's a vast majority of witnesses that know that it's not true, et cetera. And so they say, yeah, this is wrong and we need to nip it in the bud and they need to stop what they're doing. And so they destroyed that printing presses. From what I understand, I think from what I read, I think it was one of the only issues they ran before they were taken out. I think it was basically made to slander the prophet. It was the whole reason for the Nauvoo expositor, which is why it's called an expositor, to expose the saints and expose Joseph Smith. So there was a whole agenda there with that place.
Yeah. And by him destroying that sped things up.
Right. It really
Thomas
did.
Sharp and different ones. And
they were going to get him on whatever, though. They were going to get him on that. They were going to get him on, did he assassinate or try to assassinate Governor Boggs? Did he escape from Liberty Jail illegally? Like he should still be a fugitive. I mean, he's a fugitive now or whatever, or what else? He's running for president of the United States at this point. And like you said earlier, as a matter of fact, Brigham Young and them were out campaigning for him, for being president.
He wasn't even right. They were in Boston. There was a big number of the apostles gone.
Yeah. So that's what they were doing. And so that's another thing. People were scared to death of this polygamist starting. Oh, he's going to make everybody do polygamy if he runs for president of the United States. And so
it was distorted. So the things that was in that paper, it was distorted.
Yes,
it wasn't like it was all false. So we have to say it wasn't all false.
Right.
It was distorted, and the way it was presented was
to cause contention, basically.
Yeah. And to backtrack, go ahead.
Like, for example, the polygamy. I could imagine that would probably be something that was in there.
It was a big one.
And it was again, I mean, it was just distorted the way it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way it was handled, and that we'll learn in the next section that's in this same Come Follow Me. Like you said, Brigham Young was gone.
Yeah.
Luckily, 3 months or a few months before all this happened, President Joseph Smith, Brother Joseph Smith, the prophet, gathered all the apostles.
Yeah.
And we'll learn, with this section, this Come Follow Me,
right.
How the keys, anyway.
Well, you can say it. Yeah. I mean, you can go ahead with it. I mean, he basically, he basically gave them that he unloaded those keys onto them, basically. Yeah. I mean, to say it in a very coarse manner, but that's what he did. He basically passed those keys, all those keys that he held. He gave those to the Quorum of the 12.
Yeah.
Brigham Young was the president of the Quorum of the 12. And so it's just like it is today. When a prophet or a president of the church passes away, those keys automatically go to the Quorum of the 12. Yeah. So that means they preside now. They hold all the keys collectively as 12 people.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens today. However, at this point, this is the first time it was to ever happen. So thankfully, instead of Joseph Smith just dying and them trying to figure out, well, what do we do now? How does this work? It was done. Right. It went ahead and was done. And so
and Joseph obviously had an inkling and inspiration. He knew his life was short.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely
that it wasn't going to last.
He knew they weren't going to survive this.
So that was why I think he believed whenever they came and took him into custody on his way, he actually said that he was going like a lamb
to the slaughter.
Yeah.
But he was calm. He
calm as a summer's morning, right, or something.
Yeah. And that had to be, from Nauvoo to Carthage, you're looking at a 45-minute car ride. So on horse
and carriage, probably, who knows how much longer.
Yeah, and just that stretch of going down that dirt road or whatever it is.
It would have been hours, I would think, at least,
And then getting in that Carthage jail, and even the guy who kind of ran the place, he found out real quick that, hey, Joseph's a pretty nice dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he didn't actually just put him behind bars. He kind of hung out with them, ate breakfast with them.
Actually stayed in the jailer's bedroom. I mean, you know what I mean? And so, didn't even. And the thing, I always wondered, how did Willard Richards and John Taylor show up? This was we know Hyrum was there, and Hyrum was going. I mean, he was going. But I always wondered where they picked up Willard, because there was somebody else there too for a little while, and he left.
So there was others there that in and out.
They
were there for about 3 or 4 days, if I remember right. Actually, the last prophecy by Joseph Smith, President Hinckley said years ago at General Conference that there was a man by the name of Dan Jones. He said he has to be one of the dozen not productive who have baptized the most people in the church, Dan Jones. So anyways, the night before Joseph was martyred, they heard gunshots. So Joseph slept on the floor.
Yeah.
And Dan Jones was right there beside him, and paraphrasing, but just, Dan's like, man, you scared? Are you scared you're gonna die? Or Joseph asking him the same question. Right. And Joseph gave him supposedly the last prophecy by Joseph Smith, saying that you will one day go back to Wales. Because so a little background on Dan Jones, he's from Wales, a convert, comes to Nauvoo, and anyway, he told Joseph Smith's last prophecy that we know of is he told Dan Jones that you'll go back to Wales and be a missionary, and preach the gospel. And Dan Wells was fluent in Welsh. Is it Welsh? Wales. He was fluent in Wales in English, obviously. Wales is a language, but he baptized tons. I mean, established 29 branches over there.
Wow.
Thousands of people they all came, and again, President Hinckley gave him a shout out at a general conference a few years back.
Wow.
But that's Joseph Smith's last, again, the night before, hours before he died.
Right. He
told Dan Jones that, that Lord's work will move forward. And just think, unfortunately, Brother Joseph died and Hyrum died, but think about how many, like, we're here today with all this cool technology and talking about it and giving thanks, and just think of all those people that Dan Jones brought.
Yeah.
So am I correct in remembering that Hyrum had the opportunity to not go with Joseph to Carthage?
I don't remember Hyrum's situation. I can't remember if they arrested him also.
I thought Joseph kind of pleaded with him not to go, or at least like run or get away. And
I think it's safe to say that they just wanted Joseph pretty much.
So I wish I was better prepared. I did know at one time, but I want to say they were just after Joseph, and Hyrum just being a big brother.
I'm not going to let you go by yourself, right? And it's the same with John Taylor and Willard Richards.
And Dan Jones the night before.
They just sort of showed up to be there for support.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think it was Willard Richards one that said, Joseph, you didn't ask me to go to what was it? I can't remember all the things that they've done in the past, all the things that were dangerous. You didn't ask me for all those things, and I don't expect you to ask me to go now with you to Carthage. He said, but I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, he said, if you're going to be hung for treason, he said, I'll be hanged in your stead so you can go free.
Yeah,
that's what he said. That's what Willard Richards said. So these guys were loyal. And as a matter of fact, think about this. So Joseph Smith was president of the church. The other 3 men would have also 2 more presidents of the church, Willard Richards and John Taylor. But then again, Hyrum Smith would have been president of the church if he had survived it.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that all 4 of these men basically presidents of the church. I mean,
Yeah.
Hyrum never was, but still, he could have been. It's very interesting. I just, these were the top of the top men.
Right.
I mean, as far as, you hate to put people on a scale, but.
And that's why there was such a big secession crisis.
Yes.
Afterwards, because Hyrum died. Because Hyrum would have been
right.
That everyone, I mean, it was kind of that understanding.
Well,
again,
and he was made assistant. I mean, he was. It wasn't just the patriarch. He was assistant to the president. He was basically first counselor. However that is.
Again, the keys were all.
But the distributed to the keys. Was Hyrum? Hyrum never was a member of the Quorum of the 12.
So
true or false? I can't remember.
So I can't,
because he would have been more senior than Brigham Young. If he was, because he was there before Brigham Young, if I'm understanding correctly. So for them to say that it would passed on to him, does that mean that he was? I don't think that's the case. I think it was just.
But
maybe this is
after an apostle,
right? And that's the thing. I think this was all before the whole.
That's
confirm the keys upon the 12 and stuff. So people just automatically thought Hyrum will be the next prophet. Well, in reality, perhaps Joseph also knew Hyrum would die too. We don't know how much he knew.
So
but you know what I'm saying.
So apostles.
And 2 apostles died. Willard Richards, John Taylor. So 2 of them were dead too. So, or not, I mean, they didn't die, but they were there too. They could have died too, is what I'm saying. So they didn't know what was going to happen or what could happen. Joseph, in his mind, it's a very confusing time.
I just know a lot of things I've read, like it would have probably by Hyrum dying. It kind of missed. It kind of like there's confusion.
Yeah, that really messed crisis.
It up. And when people went out, anyways, it was just, and we know, and we'll talk about that in a minute about the Sydney and Brigham.
Because the bestowing of the keys to the 12 was just done privately.
Yeah,
it was between Joseph Smith, perhaps his counselors, perhaps Hyrum was in there, or whoever, but to the 12, that was it. It wasn't a public display thing,
Well, do you want to go and get into that? Is that
so Carthage. So we're going, do we want to finish Carthage?
Yeah. Well, what else you got on Carthage?
I mean, he died. I mean,
wow.
I guess
you mean like how it happened, or
well, no, look, there's a lot of information out there on Carthage, and there's no doctrine on Carthage. I'll just put it that way. I mean, the only doctrine we really have that would be considered doctrine is what we're reading here in 135.
Right.
That's the only thing that would be considered doctrine. There's been studies done by BYU, forensic studies, physical evidence studies, death masks were made, skulls were looked at. I mean, there's all kind of stuff. Clothes were looked at, things that they were wearing, the bullet holes. They shot lasers through bullet holes. What I'm saying is the laser pointers to see the projection of the bullets. There's all kinds of stuff out there. But there's even the pocket watch story about John Taylor
and Down H. Oaks, when he practiced law in Chicago, wrote a book on the Carthage conspiracy. The court cases, and
there's a lot out there, and there wasn't but so many witnesses that were there. And Willard Richards, obviously John Taylor could have been out for a little while. He didn't see some of it, but Willard Richards was pretty much around the whole. I mean, he was pretty conscious the whole time. The pocket watch thing, I know people's heard of that, and I heard it all the way from growing up in my ward. How cool was that? The pocket watch that John Taylor had, it saved his life. John Taylor wasn't even sure if that's what happened. I mean, he even said it. He said, I feel like that a bullet may have hit it when I went out the window, because he started to fall out the window when he got shot. He got shot like 4 times. He got shot somewhere, made his legs go out. Basically he couldn't feel his legs, and so he fell. When he fell over the stoop of the window. Is it called a stoop? I never forgot. Anyway, and he fell, and he was starting to fall out of the window when all of a sudden he got pushed back, and he feels like it was a ball that came from outside that hit him in the pocket watch and pushed him back into the room.
He went under the bed or something.
And then he got to crawl under the bed. And then, so as they did the forensic studies, they realized that it's probably not, they don't really know. Even he wasn't sure. But they said if a ball had hit that pocket watch, it would have completely went through it into his, it wouldn't have stopped it, they don't think. And it was too small too. They feel like it was the gears. When he hit the stoop, it pushed the pocket watch, crushed it, and pushed the gears into the back of it. Had a little indention, it looked like a ball could have went. That's some things there. And like I say, this is all hearsay stuff. This is all, they don't know. And point is John Taylor said it was a miraculous thing that he went back into the room. If he had fell out, he would have been killed. I mean, he would have been amongst all the mob members out there. And so, so he got pushed back in. He got to crawl under the bed, and of course, he survived. So they're not sure about that because, as a matter of fact, in contrast, Hyrum Smith, when he was shot through his back, it went through his chest into his pocket watch, and it completely obliterated his pocket watch.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of stuff out there. I guess that's what I'm getting to. There's a lot of stuff out there. Everybody sort of knows the story. I would stick to the things that the church has put out. There's a lot of other, like you said, conspiracies and other things that people,
down that church called a book. I mean, what's up?
Yeah.
You questioning him?
No,
Yeah.
no, but yeah, I mean, as a matter of fact, that is one of the conspiracies.
Carthage conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things too. This was a military operation. These people had, this mob, quote unquote, had military rifles. They had bayonets. I mean, this was all eyewitness of John Taylor and stuff like that. So
it was a coordinated.
It was very coordinated. This was
the
planned. This was planned out. Yeah. So this wasn't an overnight thing. Some drunk guy saying, "Hey, let's go take out the prophet." This was planned.
So one last thing I want to say about Carthage. Hyrum knew, and Joseph.
Yeah, they
knew it was coming.
Yeah,
the days, I don't know, but and so you got to think hours, before it happened.
Yeah.
Hyrum and Elder Holland shared this in the talk. The one place he went for comfort was the Book of Mormon. You got to ask yourself, was it really worth it when it got down to this? I mean, we talk, we share stories, we're on this podcast, but if we knew within hours we were going to die, I mean, like we're going to get slain right now.
Yeah.
Where would you go for comfort? What would you do? Would you go jump in the boat? Would you go? I mean, I'm just throwing out, or would you deny it? Or would you if I denied it, could that save me 20 years? Could I live it?
Right.
And Hyrum Smith went to the Book of Mormon, to the Book of Ether, and read it. And Elder Holland shared that at a
really,
very, very powerful. And we toured Carthage back in 19, and before you actually go in, they actually share that in the actual visitor center out there, and very powerful. Out of all the places, I think they actually had that Book of Mormon. Elder Holland actually held it, I think.
Yeah.
And the page was marked.
Yeah, it was dog-eared, is what they call dog-eared, folded down.
So for comfort, out of all the things they talked about, the things they could have denied or accepted or whatever, he went to the Book of Mormon and read it.
So if it was
comfort.
false, if they were really making this thing, I love Jeffrey R. Holland's. That's his. I would have to rate that as at least. I mean, he's got some powerful testimonies, but that one is, if you want to get fired up.
That's it.
I mean, he said it. And how would these two men, if this was all a farce, and this was all faked, you really think that they would have gave their lives,
their last minutes,
minutes, knowing their families, never see them again or whatever? If that's what they, if this was all fake and everything, and let their brethren go down with them and all this, and still look to the Book of Mormon for consolation, and.
So that's very powerful.
Yeah.
For
it really is.
Love.
You have to look up that. You basically, I think you can go to YouTube and put Jeffrey R. Holland testimony Book of Mormon or something, and that's it. I mean, it's powerful,
very powerful, and it strengthened my testimony when I heard it before I went into Carthage, and even today. You go through your ups and downs.
Right.
The Book of Mormon. I love studying history. Sometimes I go down rabbit holes, but really the Book of Mormon, another testimony of Jesus Christ, man, it does bring, I mean, it just makes you happier. It makes you holier. It makes you better, by reading and then trying and striving to live by the teachings.
That's what it does. It makes you want to try and strive to do.
There's something about it. You can ask a lot of people in the church, or out of the church, if you ask them about the Book of Mormon, they'll tell you it's a powerful book. They'll tell you three things. They'll tell you it's got a lot of wars chapters. They might tell you about the building of the ship or whatever, but it's done a lot. What I guess what I'm getting to is it's changed so many lives, the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to read it all to really know. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I mean? We, as missionaries, how many times have we invited
People to read it.
people, and you ain't got to read the whole thing
Yeah,
to
just
know
read-
shit, but there's something about it.
And no, yeah.
Something about where a lot of other books haven't done that in
There's
history.
there's a literal power that comes from that book, and it's because it's a witness of Jesus Christ. It's a testament to him. So
It's yeah,
Powerful.
super powerful.
So
Absolutely.
of course, the scripture or the verse in this that, Joseph Smith, the prophet, this is verse 3, 135. Joseph Smith, the prophet and the seer of the Lord, has done more, save Jesus only, for the salvation of men in this world than any other man that lived in it. That's John Taylor's words. That I've even heard that's caused a lot of controversy, non-members, and wait a minute, you're comparing Joseph Smith to Jesus Christ.
Right.
No, he didn't do that at all. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying he's second to Jesus Christ. He's just saying that basically, as we know, with the restoration, it's super important thing that had to happen, and it was through Joseph Smith. In reality, I love the way Joseph F. Smith he explained it. He said the greatest event that has ever occurred in the world since the resurrection of the Son of God from the tomb and his ascension on high was the coming of the Father and the Son to that boy Joseph Smith, to prepare the way for the laying of the foundation of God's kingdom, not the kingdom of man, never more to be ceased nor to be overturned. Having accepted this truth, this is what he said, I find it easy to accept of every other truth that he enunciated and declared during his mission in the world. He never taught a doctrine that was not true. He never practiced a doctrine that he was not commanded to practice. He never advocated error. He was not deceived. He saw, he heard, he did as he was commanded to do, and therefore God is responsible for the work accomplished by Joseph Smith, not Joseph Smith. The Lord is responsible for it and not man.
Yeah.
And I love that. So when John Taylor's saying these things, it was through Joseph Smith. It's not that Joseph Smith of his own power and his own mind done more, save Jesus Christ only. The Lord simply used him as an instrument. So it was through Joseph Smith that the Lord did all these great things. And I'm talking about in a short period of time, 20 years, basically. I mean, honestly, I think he lived to be 38 and a half years old or something like that. And, but let's just be honest.
That's how old I am. And I feel like I haven't.
Yeah,
No,
exactly. And so this was extra.
40 this month, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you gonna be 40? You gonna join the 40 club with us?
Uh,
You're still a baby. But so he's done extraordinary things because the Lord was with him extraordinarily.
Yeah.
So, and there's other lots of really neat things that we could talk about. And it's, Joseph Smith was a prophet of the Lord, and, that's that. I mean, this is, and he sealed it with his own blood,
prophet
His
of the
testimony.
Lord. And then the next section, 136.
Yeah. This is where Brigham Young has to take
so
over.
this is when other people are trying to decide, they
they
got to choose, and the majority, and when I say majority, it ain't 90%, between 50 to 60.
Yeah.
A little over half went with Brigham Young
Decided
out
to go
west.
Brigham Young out west.
So,
That's it, man. I tell you, you just imagine the conflict and the turmoil and making that decision for people that I'm sure, loved Brigham Young and what he stood for and everything, and loved Sidney Rigdon and what he stood for.
Yeah.
I would hate to have been caught in that and really having to make a decision like who is right.
Yeah.
Because you got two prominent leaders of the church saying two different things.
Yes.
That's tough.
Yes. Sidney was in the first presidency,
Right.
He was in the first presidency and a very wonderful speaker. Great. And little background, he spoke for an hour and a half, and there was a lot of wind. They couldn't, they didn't really, it wasn't as powerful as it could have been.
Yeah.
And then when Brigham Young went up and spoke, the wind stopped. And then there's so many accounts that we've all heard how it sounded like the voice of Joseph, or that looked like Joseph.
Right.
And
And
a
they
lot
could see
of
that mantle.
Yep.
Like, wow, this is okay. He's the leader of the church. You
Yeah.
can just tell. I mean, you could
Until
see that.
then they didn't, that confirmed to a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to think. Oh, did he sound like Joseph? Like his voice started to sound like Joseph? I think it's more of like he started to speak as Joseph spoke.
Yeah, different accounts say different things.
Yeah,
similar.
like because I can see that. I
right.
can, you can see President Nelson whenever he became prophet. I don't know if y'all remember. I remember him speak. I'd heard him speak however many times before.
Yeah,
and really,
while you were in Babylon.
While I was in Babylon, and I didn't pay much attention. Didn't pay much attention to it.
I mean,
but when he spoke, when he was prophet, and I was thinking of Thomas S. Monson and even Gordon B. Hinckley. I remember thinking, he sounds like a prophet now. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. I guess,
and that's really what
you know what I mean.
Is the Spirit?
Yeah,
you're having that personal confirmation with you and the Spirit, and that's what was happening with the saints with Brigham Young.
I think
and they all feel it and see it in different ways, right?
I can see that. Yeah,
and so that's kind of the way.
It's a confirmation. It was a confirmation for those people. Some got it, some didn't.
Was he for going out west, or was he for staying like what was? Do we know what his message was?
And I'm speaking way from my. I haven't really studied, but I think Sydney
this is your kinfolk.
This is my kinfolk. Come on, it really is.
Now we know where that Babylon comes from.
It really is. I think Sydney was for Sydney at that point. I think Sydney wanted to be leader, and if it meant to go out west and he could be their leader, he was going to do it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I really believe that.
Remember where he had come from. He had his own church.
He was a great speaker. He was a great leader. He really was. He was an absolute great leader, which is why he got the callings that he got.
But we can't say Brigham didn't want to be a leader too.
Yeah,
he wanted to be a leader too. That's why it was so out of all the apostles.
Yeah,
it all went. I'm just saying, because it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later that Brigham Young became president.
Yeah, right.
After they went to Council Bluff and Winter Quarters,
right?
They reorganized.
Yeah, they had to reorganize.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it was instantly.
Right.
They were still.
There's still a group that still had to get, and him just being the senior apostle was the thing. He was just the oldest apostle. I mean, as far as being an apostle the longest.
Yeah. And there was others too. There was those are two we hear about.
You got
you had James Strang, and then you had Thomas. Was it Marsh? No, he's.
I can't remember. There was several that branched.
There was one that was stake president that Emma actually wanted.
Yeah,
Joseph's wife.
Yeah, she
wanted him and kind of proposed him, and but again, from what we've been taught in the church, that confirmation that day when Sydney and Brigham, that was a big deal.
You got to think
actually helped a lot of people.
So think of this. I've never thought of this before. Okay, so you got to remember most of these people, or I'd say all these people, these were converts. All these were converts. There was very few that were born in the church at this point. I mean, because it had only been 14 years. If they were children, so they weren't adults.
Like Joseph Smith III, I mean, he was 11.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So think about this. Most of these people were Christian folk, and when they come over, they were in other churches. These churches had leaders. They had pastors. They had whatever it was. Joseph Smith was two things to these people. Joseph Smith was a prophet, and Joseph Smith was a leader of the church. A lot of them possibly could have thought that, okay, the prophet came, a prophet was here. We'd gone years and centuries without prophets, but a prophet was restored. He got things rolling, and now we're back to leaders again. We don't really need a prophet at this time. We just need a leader.
Right.
We've got everything established. All the revelations are here, all the things. So we're good. So perhaps a lot of these people, when you hear Emma saying, hey, this guy right here would make a good, I don't think they're in the context of say this guy could be a good prophet. I think they're looking at it and say this guy could lead us, or this guy could lead us. When in reality, the Lord's saying, no, you need a prophet still. It's not just a good leader. Would Sydney have made a good leader? Probably. Yeah. Probably made a great leader.
I mean, he was a leader anyway. I mean, all these guys are leaders. I mean,
but what I'm getting to is I think a lot of these people were looking at it merely from leadership, not from a prophet. Like we need a prophet, seer, and revelator still. I mean, the apostles were, right? But so maybe that's what they thought. They thought, well, we got apostles, they're prophets, seers, and they could have been that thought too. We got those. And so we just need somebody that can sort of be in command. Who's going to be in charge and let things keep rolling like they've been rolling. And so, this is all this is infant stuff. This is brand new stuff, man.
Yeah, they're learning. Like I said, it took 3 or 4 years until they sustained.
It was probably 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that I figured out how prophets are called.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is how it works.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother podcast. But what I'm getting to is what I'm getting to is that these people didn't know the average person, we're not talking about the Sidney Riggins, we're talking about the John Calhouns or whoever that didn't know a lot, maybe weren't in a lot of leadership positions, just kind of was doing what he was supposed to do.
It was new. It was
brand
all
new stuff,
new.
man. And then you got the proposals of, hey, we're going out west. A lot of them were like, we got a move again.
And
We're going
Nauvoo
again.
was nice.
Nauvoo was established. Everything was fine.
People left their
honestly, their biggest problem was what? Joseph Smith being persecuted. As soon as he was gone, they thought, well, probably the persecution are maybe going to stop now. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe we'll be really good now. We can actually live and live the gospel as we need to go. You're not saying that they wanted Joseph Smith gone. I'm just saying there was a lot of things going on. A lot of persecution. Yes, a lot of things are going on at this point. So we can't look at some of these people and go, man, y'all are dumb not to go out with Brigham Young out west. A lot of stuff was going on at the time, very confusing times. By no means do I feel like everybody that didn't follow Brigham Young out west, they're not going to make it to Celestial Kingdom. None of these cats. I mean, we don't know. There was a lot, and this was a great challenge during the church at the time.
We need to look at any break off groups within our the secession crisis, because many broke off more as the cousins of our, more like our cousins, because I mean they read out of the Book of Mormon, there's a lot of they have their arguments too, why anyway. What I'm getting to is there should never ever be like a hate.
Not for anybody.
More like you would treat your cousin. I mean, exactly. Like they're cousins within the restored gospel.
I don't hate.
Maybe second or third cousin or first cousin.
I would put them first. No, just kidding.
I don't know, man. I mean, we have good relationships.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
and
and it should be that way.
That's across the board with all religions. Look at David A. Bednar over in Dubai. He's out there with all the Muslims, and they're doing the whole thing. Quentin Cook, I think's with them. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
He was in England with
I can't remember.
Willard
anyway, we got apostles out in the Middle East that's showing our connections to the similarities that we have with Muslims, to show that, hey, let's look at the things we have in common.
Exactly.
We want to be good to our neighbors.
So that's what I'm trying to
exactly
stay on. Again, that it was all brand new.
It's easy to sit on this couch and to judge these people. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Like, all brand new.
These idiots that follow Sidney Rigdon, man, these guys, they didn't have the spirit. They were stupid.
Yeah, because I mean, then we start talking about Joseph Smith's mom,
his mom, and his family,
his wife. I mean, we making fun of Emma now. I mean, that's the prophets.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't do that. So
we're
looking at it.
Know. I mean, I think I've heard it said when you talk about polygamy, when you talk about these people that left the church, or you say leave the church, they really felt like they were staying with the church. Honestly, most of them, when they stayed with Sidney or whoever. But you're looking at it through 2021 glasses. It's easy to see this stuff and go, whoa, this is dumb. Well, we're a little more advanced where we are now as far as knowledge and things that are established. Back then in the 1844 glasses, a little bit more obscure, a little bit more for that. You didn't have a lot of information. You didn't have a President Russell M. Nelson that was well established and everything was done. Or I say everything was done, there's still things going on, but you know what I mean? And the people from 2045, is going to have better vision than we do now at 2021. It's just the way the restoration continues, and it goes on and it moves forward and it keeps changing. And
I'm going to butcher the quote.
Changing, not changing, but policies changing, things like that, not doctrine, but.
Now I'm butchering the quote by that British novelist, but going, when we study history or put those goggles on, it's kind of like going into a foreign country. I mean, so I tell you what they went back to was the Book of Mormon. That's one thing they all had in common.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
Had secession crisis. And we can see that today. I know people who will leave for a time, but they, for whatever reason, cannot deny
they can't
the Book of Mormon. They might not like the bishop.
Yeah.
They might not like how the state president made that decision,
said this or
they might not like Brother Marcus Corbett.
Now we're talking about some false doctrines.
But seriously, I mean, when you talk to people, there's something about that Book of Mormon.
So, and which is why I think it was Uchtdorf said, go back to the basics. When you start getting, not confused, I mean, necessarily confused, but just sort of feel like you're losing your faith.
Right.
Go back to your basics. don't feel bad about having to reset and go back thinking, oh, I'm already here though. If I go that, I'm gonna go way backwards. You're not going backwards when you go back to the basics. You're going to that solid foundation.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So
you are repairing the cracks in your foundation.
Absolutely.
Is what you're doing and stuff.
So but yeah, and the only other cool thing is that section 136 starts with the word and the will of the Lord given through President Brigham Young. You know, everything else was Joseph Smith. And now we see that Brigham Young has now kind of taken over. And so now the word and the will of the Lord goes through who? It goes through President Brigham Young now. So, as far as speaking for the church.
Right. It's interesting. This doesn't have a date on it.
It doesn't, but this had to be, I'm fairly sure from what I read, this was within that same, this was 1844. You know, I think this
is why they're on their way out.
Yeah.
Out west.
Right. It could have been 1845. I guess we didn't say, but this was the whole trek out west was sort of the wheels were rolling, so to speak, before Joseph was ever martyred and before he was ever taken to Carthage. Actually, he had called the Council of the 50, which was a group of 50 men, perhaps women too. I feel like I have that in my mind, like he had some women part of that, but I don't remember. But anyway, Council of 50 to basically figure out what they, you know, how they can actually move, because they had the Rocky Mountains, you know, the vision and things, revelation in the Rocky Mountains. So they thought, well, how do we do this? How do they probably didn't think it was going to be that quick. Like, oh yeah, it's going to be now, you know, within, you know, pretty quick. But Joseph knew his time was short. I think he said that several times. He felt like his life was going to be pretty short. He didn't know exactly when, but he knew that things had to happen continuously after he was gone. So he had things in motion, which is why he went to the Quorum of 12, gave them the keys and passed the keys on to them, things like that. So he was aware of what was going on well before anyone else, you know. So,
well, very good. Anything else? Yep.
Just keep the spirit with you.
That's right.
And personal revelation is absolutely vital to us.
I was just going to kind of close with that, is that, I mean, there's tons of information out here, tons of different circumstances, individuals that were faced with a basically kind of a faith crisis in this, us in this day. You know, we are faced with faith crisis. Go back to the basics, repair your foundation, and until next time, y'all keep on striving.